Hi guys, and welcome to this other video. I hope you guys are doing great. So today in this video we are going to continue with our series of video related to VLAN activities. So today we are going to jump on lab 2, which is security and traffic optimization. So today in this video, as I said, is going to be the second or the next video on our series of video on FortiGate VLANs. So in the previous video, we did a lab 1 where we did a setup of we set up a lab where we had a FortiGate device. So let me just show the diagram here. So we did this lab where we have this FortiGate device and we have these two Cisco switches. For each of the switches, we configured two VLANs, as you can see here, VLAN 10 for employees and VLAN 20 for visitors on switch 1. Then on switch 2, we have server VLAN and voice over IP VLAN. So we configured we did all the VLAN settings on the switches and we did inter-VLAN configuration and testing. So all was already implemented on the on lab 1. So before lab 1, we have also a previous video where we talk about technical concept regarding FortiGate vDoms. Pay attention here. The initial video was about vDoms, where we talk about we show some diagram, we talk about some key concept, we show use cases. We also talk about some comparison between VLAN and vDoms, as there are some similarity between the two technologies. So we show the two. We show some quick differences and similarities that we have between vDoms and VLAN. Then we also show the primary characteristics of vDoms and also prerequisite if you want to implement vDoms on your infra. But before jumping to activities on the vDoms, we thought it would be interesting to perform activities on VLAN first. That's why we created these two labs here for VLAN. Then after implementing these two activities, we will jump on the activities now on vDoms, so that when implementing those activities, we will have a better understanding of the differences that we have between the VLAN and the vDoms and what are the implementation or the main or the key differences and what does vDoms bring as enhancement that was not available for VLANs. So as I said, we already did lab 1. The link to lab 1 is in the description of this video. So today we are jumping on lab 2 about security and traffic optimization. So this lab 2 is segmented in 3 sections, as you can see. We have the first part, which is about security, where we talk about SSL inspection and access restriction. So this is related to VLAN. Second part will be optimization and traffic prioritization, where we talk about quality of service and bandwidth sharing between VLANs. Then the third section would be about VLAN and SD-WAN. So this where, for example, if you have like two ISP that are connected to your FortiGate device, you will see how to implement how to redirect traffic for specific VLANs to go to a specific ISP. So we'll see how to implement that in this third section. So today in this video, we are jumping in the first. We'll start with section 1, which talks about security and SSL security on FortiGate VLANs. So without wasting time, let's jump directly on our FortiGate device to talk about this SSL inspection and access restriction. So when talking about SSL inspection and traffic inspection is mostly when you are implementing your FortiGate VLANs. As we said here, when you are implementing your FortiGate VLANs, it is good to implement the VLANs, but it is also very interesting to make sure that the traffic that you are allowing from one VLAN to the other, those traffic is very, very well secured. So talking about security, what we can implement here about security, for example, is if you are allowing, maybe let's say you are allowing like employees to get access to internet, for example, you can, for example, what you can implement here about that security is, so what you can implement here is like security profiles, right? If you are sending, you want to enable traffic from the internal users to the internet, for example, a good point for security here will be security profiles. Like, you need to enable some security profiles and make attention or pay attention here on the SSL inspection. So here in this video, we are not going to talk again. We are not going to go back on security profile and SSL inspection, because we did like 5 videos on this channel talking about security profiles and SSL inspection. So we'll not go in details here about those about security profiles. If you need to 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 watch those videos, just go on the channel. You'll see the list of video. There are a lot of videos talking about security profiles. So what I want to just to put in front here is that when doing inter-VLAN or VLAN, inter-VLAN communication or communication between VLANs to the internet, you need to make sure that you are enabling security profiles here, and you are also using SSL inspection. So either you are using certificate inspection or you are using deep inspection. So we'll talk a lot about this in those videos. So I'll not go in details in this one about security profiles. So make sure you are implementing security profile and SSL inspection. Also, another security part, for example, let's say if you are creating, for example, inter-VLAN communication. Let's say, for example, you are implementing VLAN communication between the employees and the server VLAN. So you want, for example, the users in the employee VLAN here to communicate with the server VLAN. So what you can do for security purpose, for example, let's say the incoming interface is this one, and the outgoing is the server VLAN. So the source here, as we said, you say employees. Then here the destination, as we said, also is going to be the server VLAN. But here under services, instead of giving access to all services, here you should pay attention and ideally provide access only to the services that are actually implemented in the server VLAN and for which you want the users to get access. Let's say, for example, you have maybe your Active Directory infrastructure on your server VLAN, so you might give access maybe for LDAP. If you have some reduced servers, if you have some RDP, you are implementing an RDP or SSH from there. If you are implementing, I don't know, maybe you have like some email server or Exchange server there, or you have some web server there. So just ideally, what is recommended is just to select only the services that you want to enable to the users. So just make sure you select those services. It is better for you. Let's say we'll remove HTTP, maybe remove HTTP. So ideally, what will be recommended is that give access to the services that are required, rather than giving full access control or giving access to all services, right? So just select only the specific services that you need and grant access only to those services, and make sure you know what are the services that you granted access to. That's how, for security purposes, that's how you should implement the inter-VLAN communication, right? As we said, you should also implement some minimum security profile here. Maybe communication, inter-VLAN communication, maybe you will not put more effort in security here, but there is a minimum security profile that you can do. For example, you must implement like antivirus. So you need to make sure before employees get access to server VLAN, maybe there should be some antivirus control, something like that. So you should make sure there is a minimum security profile that you need to implement, like antivirus, right? Antivirus, file filters to make sure you don't want users to be getting to transfer some files from the server network to their VLAN network. So all those you need to implement, and you make sure you have also implemented the security profile in the inter-VLAN communication, and always log the traffic so that you will be able to go in the logs to see like some forward traffic logs to understand what traffic was sent from what workstation to which server and vice versa. So that's some security purposes, that some security implementation that you can do regarding some security implementation that you can do regarding inter-VLAN communication or communication between the internet between the employees to the internet. As we say, for employees to internet, you need to make sure that you are enabling a maximum security profiles here, and you're also implementing maybe using deep inspection, as we explained in the videos concerning SSL inspection and deep inspection. You know how it works, so I'll not go in details again, as I said. So these are some minimum security that you can implement on your FortiGate for inter-VLAN communication and also for VLAN communication from VLAN to external network. So now let's talk about access restriction. So talking about access restriction, what you need to understand is that on the FortiGate VLANs, access restriction with VLANs, there is that the restrictions are very limited for VLANs communication, right? So for example, you cannot create, for example, a user's account and decide, for example, you cannot restrict users, let's say like administrative access to a specific VLAN. Say like you cannot decide, for example, that you have a network administrator that can connect on the FortiGate device and manage only maybe one or two networks or one or two VLANs. So that's not possible with VLANs. All you can do, for example, for restricting access based on VLANs is, for example, if you go here under settings and you go here under administrators. So here are administrators. When you are creating, for example, an administrator account, let's say, for example, I'll be calling this FortiUser1. Let's go with this FortiUser1. Let's define a password. So here, let me select the profile. Let's just say, for example, professional admin profile. So here, what I want to explain here is about restricting login to trusted host. So here, if you go on this menu here, you have the option here to specify from where administrative access can be performed for the FortiGate. So let's go back on the diagram here. Remember, on the diagram here, you have the four VLANs here, and each VLAN has its own subnet. Let's say, for example, you want your FortiGate to be administratively to be managed only from this workstation. Let's say you want it to be managed only from this workstation, this PC1, from the employee VLAN, and you also want the firewall to be accessed by any server or any device that is under the server VLAN. So how can you implement this? So here, what we are going to do is, remember the IP address of this device is 192.168.10.100. So from here, what you can do is you can add that IP address directly from here as a trusted host. So let's do it. So I'll add /32. So this is the IP address from where this workstation will be accessible, or this FortiGate device will be accessible. You can also add here, for example, as I said, I want it also to be accessible from the server's VLAN. So the server's VLAN is 192.168.30.0. So that's the subnet. So I can simply add the subnet here, 30.0/24. So we've restricted the access only to this IP address from VLAN 10, and we've also restricted administrative access only to this subnet, which is VLAN 30. So from here, what I do, just hit OK. So we have the information here. So something else that you can do, but this is not related to VLANs. You can simply go here under admin profiles here. You can create a new profile. Let's just call this let's say secondary admin profile. This is a secondary admin profile. So here, what you can do is just restrict permissions or restrict global access permission to this profile. So instead of letting the administrators, any user, to get global administrator, what you can do from here, for example, you can create a secondary admin profile where you want for example the users on this profile to get only read access for security fabric. So here let's go maybe under firewall. You can go on custom here on firewall. You say for example if a user have access to firewall menu, he can manage, maybe he has access to policies. So just a read permission under policies, read permission under addresses. So let's just do this too. Then we'll go here under network. So here under network, we can also go under custom here and decide maybe user just have access for configuration, read access for configuration, and read access for routing. Same thing here under systems. So here under system, maybe the secondary admin profile will not have permission to create administrators or administrator users. So you just give them read access here. But for example, for FortiGate updates, maybe you can give them read and write access on FortiGate updates. Under configuration, only read. Maintenance, maybe read and write. So we're just doing some restriction. We're just creating a profile with some restrictive access. So this is not related to VLAN. So I'm just doing this so that we are going to test this on a workstation to see how it works. So just customizing the permissions here and hit OK. So this is the profile that I've created. So I'll go back on administrators here. Then here on the user that we created, I'm going to select the profile here. So rather than giving the user the super admin profile or the super admin read only profile, I will be giving him a secondary admin profile. So all looks good. I'll hit OK. So let's jump on our lab to perform the test. So here on this PC, so on PC1, let me launch the browser, Mozilla Firefox. So from here, remember this device is on VLAN 10 and the default IP of VLAN 10 is 192.168.10.1. So remember that for each of the VLANs, from that particular VLAN, if you type the IP address of the default gateway, you might have access to if the HTTP and HTTPS administrative protocol were enabled on that interface, then you will be able to access the administrative you'll be able to administer the FortiGate, or you able to connect or to display the connection interface. So here let's connect with the newly created administrator. Okay, Forti user 1. Okay, so you can see now the user is we are able to connect we are able to connect with this user, right? So we can connect with this user. We can, as you can see now, we don't have all the menu as a super admin. So here we just have like maybe under networking we can see interfaces, but as you can see here under interfaces we cannot edit, or we cannot add new interface. We don't have the add menu here. You can maybe see the information here, but if you do some like right click, you see you can only view, you cannot modify. So maybe here also under system here you see administrators, you see administrators account, but you cannot create or modify. Under maybe under FortiGuard or under certificate, user can maybe create certificate. So all I wanted to show was that you can create a security profile for a new admin account. So another testing purpose is that as we limited the access to this device, right, on this VLAN, so it means on this other device, on this PC2, we should not be able to connect on the FortiGate because the IP of this device. So if I go here on this is PC2, so if I check again, if config, so this is 10.101. So from here, if I go on firewall policy, or if I go here on the web browser and I try to access the FortiGate, I have access to the connection interface, like the login interface. But from here, if I try to enter FortiUser1, FortiUser1, enter the admin password. So from here we have authentication failure, right? We are not able to connect here because, so if I try maybe just go back here on the other workstation, on the other device, then let's try to log out. So I'm logged out from here on, this is PC1. So let's try again on PC2. FortiUser1 password, authentication failure because we don't have access to this device is not a trusted device as per our setting, right? The IP of this device is not part of the trusted host that were configured for this user account. But if you go here on the server VLAN here, if I connect on PC5, so PC5 here, IP address is 30.100. So if I go on Firewall, if I go on the web browser here and I try typing 30.1, so from here, let's try again. FortiUser1. So as you can see from here, I'm able to connect because this device is part of VLAN 30, and VLAN 30 was added as a trusted subnet for this user account. Pay attention that the settings were done. The settings were made for a particular user account, not for the entire FortiGate firewall, but for this user account. These are the trusted host. So as we said, normally all the devices that are part of server VLAN should have access to administrative access to the FortiGate device, right? So what I'm going to do is just to power on this other device. So the purpose here is just to make sure that we understand that on the employee VLAN, we limited the access to one workstation, but on the server VLAN, each device that is part of the server VLAN we can access or manage the FortiGate device directly from any device that is on this VLAN. So let's double check. So here, what I'm going to do is to check the IP first. So ifconfig 130.100.1. So here I'm going 196.168.30.1. Okay, so here I'm going to connect with the user. So FortiUser1, put the password. So as you can see, we are also able to connect directly from this other FortiGate from this other server as well, right? With the FortiUser. So I think so far we are completed with this first part. So we talk about SSL inspection. I'll also talk about access restriction. As I said, for access restriction, we don't have much restriction that we can do with the VLANs. As you can see, we have that limited restriction that we can do. So maybe during VDOM activity, we'll see like more restriction that we can do with VDOMs, but as for VLAN, that's all we could do. So guys, depending on the length of the video, we'll see if we will do the same. We'll put in the same video of the next subtitle, which is optimization and prioritization. Otherwise, we'll do another video for this other second and third part. So guys, stay tuned. Let's meet in the next video.